the top, you are going to call it dividing using base 10 models. And then write today's date. January 13th, 2021. We're going to begin by writing the steps. Remember, this is a title. So what do we need to do to show that it's a title of our notes? What do we need to do to show that it's a title of our notes? Victoria. You need to underline it. Come on, guys. We learned how to write titles. Okay, we're going to start by writing the steps. We're going to write them out. So step 1, who remembers what the very first thing we do? Imagine that we have a division sentence. I'm not going to put one because we're just writing the steps. We're not showing examples. You have a division sentence. What is the very first thing that we did yesterday? Come on, guys. I see the hands at home. Thank you. But everybody should be raising their hand because you should all remember what we did. It was like not that long ago. But also you have a tool to look at to see what the first thing that we did was. Carla, what is the very first thing that we do?
The first thing we do is to model the dividend.
We model the dividend. Very good. You even use the vocabulary. Model the dividend. That was the very first thing we did. Step 2. This is not exactly the same step as in your book because we did something before we got to step 2. What did we do between step 1 and step 2? Come on, guys. Don't look around the room and see, is anybody else raising their hand? Think for yourself. We didn't skip right to step 2. We did something first because we can't do step 2 until we do something else. Mason? We don't model the ones. We don't even start with the ones in division. We don't divide the tens. Remember I said we did this before step 2. Step 2 is to model the tens or divide the tens, but we didn't do that yet. We had to do something before we could figure out how to divide the tens. Smith?
We modeled our divisor by drawing the groups.
We modeled the groups. Come on, guys. Everybody at home is raising their hands. They were in the same lesson as you guys. Why can they answer the question but you can't? It should even be harder for them because they're on a computer at home, nowhere near me. But you guys are all here. This is kind of a pattern. Victoria, I did see your hand. So thank you. This is kind of a pattern that I've noticed this year. Just because you are here does not mean that you get to zone out. They are doing their part at home, which is even harder than you doing your part here. Smith, correct. We model the groups, which comes from where, Smith?
The divisor.
The divisor. So step 1, we model the dividend. Step 2, we model the groups. The divisor tells us our groups. How do we show the groups? How do we show the groups when we're modeling the divisor, or when we're modeling the groups? How do we show them? Come on, guys, don't pretend you're still writing. You can write with one hand, raise your hand to answer with the other. Again, everybody at school, at home. Zari.
The divisor, so we would have the number of the divisor, make the circle, the circles for how many there are.
Good. So the circles, we draw big circles to show our groups. I think every single person in this classroom right now needs to go home tonight and rewatch yesterday's video. They've got it at home. So they can probably move on. But you guys at school, I don't know, it should be much easier for you because you're here. I don't know what the problem is. It's not a good thing though. Okay, step 2, we model the groups. The divisor tells us how many groups. We use large circles to show the number of groups. Now, step 3, what did we do next? Zadie.
Divide the ones.
Nope. Mason.
Divide the 10.
We divide the tens, or we divide, do not write the tens, the greatest place value. In yesterday's case, it was tens. That will not always be the case, though. How do we do that? How do we show dividing the greatest place value or dividing the tens? How do we show that? Yeah, and everybody at home with their hand up, nobody at school. I don't understand it. You have tools where you can see exactly how to do it. You're just staring at me. Carla, how do we show dividing the greatest place value, in this case the tens?
We will divide the tens, putting the tens
10 rods?
into the bubbles or circles until there's some that cannot go into the bubbles.
So, how do we do that? Do we, what was my question? How do we do that? Do we put like a bunch? Do we put them all in one circle, in one group, Carla?
No,
How do we have to do it? We have to do it how many at a time?
we have to do it one by one.
Good. So, we put the tens in the groups one at a time. What happens if we have some left over but not enough to go evenly into the group? Victoria?
It turns into our remainder.
Nope. Zadie?
You turn the 10 rod or 10 rods.
Please use the math words for this. We don't turn it. What do? What is the math word?
We regroup the 10 that's left over into 10 ones.
We regroup tens that don't fit evenly into ones. So step 3 is divide the greatest place value. Now what that means, we're using tens as our example. Put the tens in the groups. You have your groups. One at a time. Any tens that don't fit evenly, you regroup into ones. That means sometimes we may have 1 10 left over that we can't fit. We might have 2 10s left over that we can't fit, whatever. However many tens that do not fit evenly, we have to regroup them into ones. Is there anything left? Any other step left to dividing the greatest place value? Is there anything else we need to do to divide the greatest place value? Thank you, girls at home. Victoria?
Yes.
What is it?
We need to divide the ones.
I asked if there's anything else we need to do to finish dividing the greatest place value. Does dividing the ones help us divide the greatest place value? Does it? So is there anything left that we have to do as part of step 3? No. Please listen to the question that I'm asking. That means we're ready to move on to step 4. I'm going to erase this so that I can put it up here so that it is easy to read for everybody. I will erase steps 1 and 2. I will leave step 3. Please make sure if you're still writing step 3 that you are listening carefully. Step 4 is to do what? Cullen?
Divide the ones.
Divide the next place value, because sometimes you just keep going until you get to the ones. But we're going to divide the next place value, and then we're going to use ones as an example. Cullen, how do we do that? You have tools. They're in front of you up here. They're in front of you in the book. How do we do that? How do we model that?
We divide the ones into how many equal groups there are.
We have a sentence right here. Do we change anything about this sentence other than the place value? Does it happen the same way, this first sentence? Just with a different place value? Look at the first sentence here in parentheses. Is it any different when we're dividing the ones except that we're not in the tens place?
No.
So what could we write as the first part of this step?
Put the ones in the group one at a time.
So we start out by putting the ones in the groups one at a time. Use what we already have. Replace words that don't work with words that do. If the step works other than one word, change that one word, keep everything else the same. That way you know exactly what to do. For dividing the greatest place value, or the tens, we put the tens in the groups one at a time. For dividing the next place value, or in this case the ones, we put the ones in the groups one at a time. We do the same thing, just instead of the tens, now we're using the ones. But now, this second sentence, regroup tens that don't fit evenly into ones. Does it work to replace tens with ones? Sorry.
No.
No, because do we ever regroup ones? Can we take ones and turn them into a smaller place value? No, we can take tens and turn them into 10 ones. Do we know a smaller place value than ones? No. So we can't take 1, 1 and turn it into 10 of a smaller place value because we don't know what that is. What do we have to do if the ones don't fit evenly? What do we have to do if the ones do not fit evenly? Victoria.
It's our remaining.
So how can we write that in a sentence?
We would write
We can start with ones that don't fit evenly.
the ones that don't fit evenly are the remaining.
There we go. Ones that don't fit evenly, we'll say become the remainder. Is there anything left to dividing the ones? Is there anything left that we have to do to divide the ones? Zadie?
No.
No. Is there anything left to modeling our division? Zari?
No.
No. We're just going to write the answer. How do we show what the remainder is? When we're writing our answer, our quotient, how do we show what the remainder is? Michaela? We can show a capital R. If there's no remainder, do we put capital R 0? No. What do we do if there's no remainder? Mason?
You don't put the O in them.
You just don't put the R at all. Okay. Now we're going to use these steps. We're going to go step by step to do some problems. That means if I pick you, I'm going to say, okay, tell me, here's your problem. Tell me what to do for step 1. You're going to read me the step. Then you're going to tell me what to do. When I tell you, okay, what's step 2? You're going to read the step out loud, and then you're going to tell me what to do. Is everybody ready? Mason, I told you that your problem is going to be 64 divided by 3. We're going to go through it step by step. Remember, I'm going to say, okay, what's step 1? You're going to read it, and then you're going to tell me what to do. Okay? Mason, what is step 1?
Model the dividend.
Model the dividend. Okay, how do I do that?
You put 10 rods.
6 10 rods. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That models what number so far?
The 10s.
Which is, how much is the 6 in the tens place worth?
6.
Not 6. 60. Okay, but now we have to model 64, so what do we do next?
Model the groups.
What? Did we finish step 1?
No.
We modeled the tens, now we have to model the ones. So how do we model the ones?
I put 4 ones.
4 ones cubes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, what is step 2?
Model the groups.
How do we know what the groups are?
It is the divisor.
The divisor. So what's our divisor?
3.
3. How many groups do we need?
3.
How do I show the groups? What do I draw to show the groups?
So
Big circles. 1, 2, 3. Okay? What's step 3?
divide the greatest place value.
Which in this number is what place?
64.
What place?
Oh,
What's the greatest place value in the number 64?
60.
That's the digit, or that's the value of that digit. But what is this place? What's the name of this place? It has nothing to do with the digit.
The 10.
The tens. So that means what do we have to do with those tens to divide them?
You have to put them into the circle even.
How many at a time?
Oh,
So read exactly what the part of step 2 says. Or step 3.
put the 10s in the groups one at a time.
Okay? So, what am I going to do each time I move a 10?
You're gonna shade.
I'm going to shade it. Now, it would be nice if we all had our own base 10 blocks, because then we could just physically move them. But unfortunately, I don't have enough for that, because I don't have enough for each person to have 6. Or I have enough for each person to have like 4, but then I definitely don't have enough ones if you have to regroup. Okay, so we're going to put our 10s one at a time, evenly, right? So I'm going to stop every time I get to the end of my groups and make sure I have enough to go back evenly, right? Okay, so I'm going to start with 1 and shade it. 2 and shade it. 3 and shade it. Okay, I'm at the end of my group, so what should I do to make sure I can go back evenly? How many? I need to make sure I have at least how many?
3.
At least 3. Do I have at least 3 tens left?
Yes.
Yeah, so I can go back through at least one more time. 1, 2, oops, I'm sorry, 4, 5, 6, oops, I forgot to shade. That would mean I could go back and think I have enough to go again. Okay, I'm to the end of my groups. Do I have enough tens to go around again? Do I have any tens left over? No, so I don't have to do what? What's that math word that I do not have to do, that it says I don't have to regroup? So I can skip that part of the step because I don't have to do it, and I can move on to step 4. What do we do in step 4?
Divide the next place value.
Which in this case is the
1.
ones. How do I do that?
Put the ones in the loops one at a time.
Good. And then when I get to the end, I need to make sure that I have enough to do what?
Go again.
Go again. So, do I have at least 3 that I can start out at?
Yes.
Yeah. 1, shade it. 2, shade it. 3, shade it. I'm at the end. So I need to make sure that I have enough to do what?
To go again.
To go again. How many do I have left?
1.
Do I have at least 3?
No.
No. So what does that mean? Do I regroup
No.
like I do in the tens place? No. So what does that mean? Tell me what it says in your steps.
Ones that don't fit evenly become the remainder.
So that means I have a remainder, right? But now I need to write my answer. The quotient is how many are in how many groups? Our quotient, do we count what's in all 3 groups? We only count how many are in each group, which means we look at 1. We make sure each has the same amount. Do each of my groups have the same amount?
Yes.
Yes. So let's look at one group. How many is in one group? We have how many tens?
2.
And how many ones?
1.
So 2 tens and 1 1 is what?
12.
Not 12.
21.
21. 12 would be 1 10 and 2 ones. 21 is 2 tens and 1 1. Am I done with my quotient? Is 64 divided by 3 21?
No.
No, because what do I have to put to show that I had something left over?
The remainder.
I have to put my remainder. What do I use to show that I have a remainder? Capital R. And then I put how many I left over. I have left over, which is how many?
1.
1. So that means, Mason, 64 divided by 3 is,
21 remainder 1.
very good, 21, remainder 1. Yes? Yeah. Okay, we're going to do one more problem. Then you'll have about 15 minutes to do as much of the independent practice as you can. Okay? Okay. Most of you can probably already guess what our next problem is going to be. Zadie, you're going to help me with it. Your problem is 48 divided by 3. I'm going to give myself more space this time here so that I have room for the answer. Okay, Zadie, what is the first step?
Model the dividend.
Model the dividend. What is my dividend in this problem?
48.
48. How do I model 48?
4 10 rods.
4 10 rods. 1. Oops, that's a fat 10 rod, but oh well. 2, 3, 4. And now I need to model the ones by doing what?
By having 8 ones cubed.
Then I have 8 ones cubes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, am I done with step 1? So now I'm ready to move on to step 2. What is step 2?
Model the group.
How do I know how many groups I have?
You look at the divisor.
I look at the divisor. What's our divisor in this problem? 3. So how many groups do I have? 3. How do I show my groups?
By making big circles.
By making big circles. 1, 2, 3. Anything else to do in step 2?
No.
So what do I do next? What's step 3?
Divide the greatest place possible.
Which in this dividend is, what's the
Tens place.
the tens place? Okay, how do I do that?
You
Look at your notes. Read me what to do. You
put-
have the exact way to do it, so read your notes.
You put the tens in the groups one at a time.
So I take the tens and I put them one at a time. What should I do when I get to the end before I start putting tens again?
You make sure you have enough to go around.
I make sure I have enough to go around again. Okay? So I need to check first, because what if the very first step I can't do? Do I have at least 3 to go around once? At least 3 tens?
Yes.
Yes, so let's go ahead. 1, 2, 3. Oops, I forgot to shade. 1, 2, 3. Now, before I start going around again and putting them in there one at a time, what do I need to make sure of?
Make sure you have 3 to go around.
That I need to make sure I have at least 3 tens left so I can go again. Do I have at least 3 tens left?
No.
No. So what happens? Read the next part of step 3.
3 groups of tens that don't fit evenly into ones.
So how many tens do I have that don't fit evenly? 1. So I need to regroup that 1 10 that doesn't fit evenly into what?
10 ones.
10 ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Notice how I crossed this one out instead of shading it to tell me, hey, I didn't use it. I changed it. I didn't shade it. I crossed it out, and then I have an arrow that points from my 10 that I regrouped to the ones that I regrouped them into. Okay, Zadie, is there anything else we need to do in step 3?
No.
No, so I need to move on to step 4. What is step 4?
Divide the next place value.
I divide the next place value, which in this dividend is the
Ones place.
ones place. I started with how many ones?
8.
Do I still have 8 ones?
No.
How many do I have now?
18.
18. So what do I do to physically divide those ones? Read the next part of step 4.
Put the ones in the groups one at a time.
I put the ones in the groups one at a time. But first I need to make sure I have enough to go around, right? Do I have at least 3?
Yes.
Definitely. 1, 2, 3. What should I make sure of before I start again?
Make sure you have 3 more to go back around.
Make sure I have at least 3, the same number of groups. Do I have at least 3?
Yes.
Yes. 4, 5, 6. Oops, I forgot to shade as I was going. Please make sure that you're shading as you go instead of going back after, because then that means you might not shade enough or you might shade too many. If you draw one, shade one, draw one, shade one, you're going to be sure that you don't shade too many or not enough. Okay, I'm at the end. What should I make sure of?
You have 3 more.
I have at least my divisor. Do I have at least 3?
Yes.
Yes. 7, 8, 9. Okay, I'm at the end. What do I need to make sure of?
That you have 3 more.
I have at least the number of divisor. Do I have at least 3?
Yes.
Okay. 10, 11, 12. I'm at the end. What do I make sure of?
That you have 3 more.
I have at least the divisor. Do I?
Yes.
13, 14, 15. I'm at the end. What do I make sure of?
That you have 3 more.
That I have at least the divisor left. Do I have at least 3 left?
Yes.
Yes. 16. 17. 18. I'm at the end. What do I make sure of?
That you have 3 more.
That I have at least the divisor left. Do I have at least the divisor left?
No.
No. Do I have any left over?
No.
No. So what does that mean if I have none left over? What does it mean if I have none left over? Michaela? I won't have a remainder. If there's none left over, I'm not going to have a remainder. So that means now I can find the quotient. To find the quotient, do I look at all 3 groups?
No.
No, I look at how many groups to find the quotient?
You look at 1.
I look at 1 group. I am going to check to make sure I have the same amount. Okay, that, 2, yep. Yep, I have enough. I have the same amount in each group. They all look the same, so I can look at 1 group, and I can figure out how many are in there. I have how many 10s
1.
and how many 1s.
6.
So that means, what is my remainder?
0.
I'm sorry, what is my quotient?
16.
16. So, and do I have any left over?
No.
Do I do this?
No.
No. So that means 48 divided by 3 is
16.
16. Okay. We have 10 minutes till reading, but I'm going to go ahead and give you 15 minutes to do your independent practice. Remember, for number 3, look at how we solved number 2 to figure out what goes in each spot. Remember, the first blank is the what? The first blank shows what? Mason? The dividend, which is, look at your notes for number 2. The dividend is, Victoria? Nope. Look at number 2. Look at number 2. Colin?
The total items.
The total items. What is the middle blank? I guess Cullen. Okay, Zari?
It's the dividend.
Not the dividend. The first blank is the dividend. Smith? What's the middle blank?
The groups.
The number of groups. What's the math word for it? Smith?
The divisor.
The divisor. So the middle, when you're looking at a model that's already done, the middle number is the divisor. That's the number of groups. The third blank is the what? Tell me the math word and how we know what it is. Zadie?
The quotient.
The quotient. Now how do we know what it is? By looking at the picture. It's labeled. Look at number 2. If you follow directions, you have exactly what to look at.
It's items in each group.
The number of items in each group. Now watch out for a remainder. A remainder will be off to the side all by itself. Okay, go ahead. I'm going to give you 15 minutes to get through what you can. For numbers 4 and on, follow each of those steps. Say what's step 1, read it to yourself, then do it. For step 2, read it to yourself, then do it. Do not follow the steps until you have read them to yourself. That is how you will memorize them. Yes, sorry. Quickly.
On the word problems, would you like us to have a extra piece of paper?
Yes. For the word problems, you will need an extra sheet of paper because you won't have enough space to follow all the steps.